The BYU Cougars are now 3-0 as they pummel Wyoming in Laramie. That should have BYU fans buzzing as Kansas State gets ready to come to town next Saturday. No? Well, let's try to make heads and tails of what's going on in Postcast.
You are Locked On Cougars, your daily podcast on the BYU Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? I'm Jake Hatch, your host here on Locked On Cougars, resident BYU insider. Thank you for making Locked On Cougars your first view or listen of the day, and a big thank you to all of you once again who are everydayers right here on your original daily podcast focused on the BYU Cougars. All right, the BYU Cougars are now 3-0 on the season as they take care of business in Laramie, Wyoming, or Laradice, as some people like to call it, as they smack the Pokes 34-14 the final. Now, I'm going to say this right at the outset. This is a postcast reacting almost in the moments after the game. It's a little bit later because I have radio responsibilities, but nonetheless, I think the biggest thing to take away from this is the most maddening 3-0 start I can remember for the BYU football program. That sounds like a paradox. That sounds like an oxymoron, and it is all of that. But at the same time, there are a lot of Cougar fans out there who are upset with this BYU football team. Let's acknowledge the facts. BYU is 3-0. Let's also acknowledge the fact that BYU, in most of our minds, 3-0 would be an ideal start to the season when we were talking about the preseason prognostications for this team. I said it once, I'll say it again. My goal for BYU this season was to get to 6-6, to find 6 wins to go to the postseason. They're halfway to that through the non-conference slates. Now you got to find 3 more wins in your remaining 9 games. That shouldn't be all that difficult, but level of competition goes up almost immediately as Kansas State comes to town next Saturday night. What I really liked first off about this game, we'll just kind of talk about different things I took away from the win for BYU, was 34-14. I don't think reveals how thorough a beatdown this was for the BYU football program. Wyoming, awful. That team is really, really down. They are struggling in every facet of the game. Really, the only success they had, much like Southern Illinois against BYU in the season opener, was with their QB run game. That's with Evan Svoboda in this case running the ball. And that was really the only thing it felt like they had a consistency with. BYU's defense is legitimate, folks. It is a top 25-ish type defense. It's incredible to consider what it's accomplished so far, what it could accomplish yet this season, and how far it could take this team. Now, it needs to be matched by a more consistent offense. We all get that. We'll talk about the offense momentarily. But the thing about this was, I watched this game, and I'll go back and rewatch it. You guys know how I do. We'll, on Monday edition of the podcast, we'll have our film review Monday. Rewatching this game is going to be interesting because I felt like BYU's defense in this game went rather vanilla because I think BYU saw on the tape, said, you know what? Man for man, we're better than these dudes. Let's just play them straight up, go with a 4-man front, a 4-3 or 4-2-5, depending if how many wide receivers they just had to put on the field for any given down. And let's just go man-to-man and lock them down. And by and large, it's exactly what BYU did. 217 total yards for Wyoming. It's just incredible to consider. Average yards per rush for Wyoming, 2.3 yards per rush. Average yards per play, 3.3. That is absolute dominance from this BYU defense. They shut down SMU a week ago. They made quick work of Southern Illinois. And this Wyoming team, geez, they made just life absolutely difficult. Evan Svoboda was 14 of 32 for 140 yards and 44% completion percentage with 1 interception. It's a QB rating of 74.3, or QB efficiency rating of 74.3. As our good friend BYU Stats pointed out, BYU's defense and QB efficiency rating this season has kept all 3 opponents in the 70s when it comes to that efficiency rating for all 3 games so far. From 2001 to 2023, everybody, BYU never had back-to-back where they kept opponents less than 80. We're seeing a defense that not even Bronco Mendenhall has coordinated. It has been absolutely remarkable what this BYU defense is doing. Flipping over to the offense for a moment. You can't take anything away from Jake Retzlaff's performance. 22 of 36, 291 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a QB efficiency rating of 151. That is very, very healthy numbers. Were there throws in there that likely could have been picked off and should have been picked off? Yes, but he got the job done. I feel like most quarterbacks out there, had they done what Jake Retzlaff did in this game, we'd be talking about, wow, what an incredible performance it was. The problem is, he started this game with an interception, goes down there, underthrows a ball to Cody Epps, and it's picked off. And I think that's kind of set the tone for at least the social media discourse that I noticed all night long. No matter how good Jake was in this game, it just, quote unquote, wasn't good enough. I feel like for many Cougar fans out there, I thought he was absolutely fantastic for the most part. Can't take away 61% from him. Also led BYU in rushing with 6 carries for 62 yards. Had one called back due to a rather dubious hold. Now, the officiating is what it is, but some of the holding calls in this game were just downright awful. Now, BYU doesn't need to clean up the penalties. 9 for 80. That's not going to get it done against the likes of Kansas State. And it was actually a pretty ugly game in that regard for BYU after being a fairly clean operating team through the first 2 weeks of the season. It got pretty nasty. 9 for 80 in the penalty department. You can't have that. Overall, the rushing attack, it was okay, but it left a lot to be desired. Enoch Nawahine did not play. He joins the growing list of running back injuries for BYU. A lot of people have said it. I'll add my voice to it. The fact that BYU felt like they could go into the season with the running back core that they did and expected them to hold up for any significant period of time, injury-wise, foolhardy at best. They probably should have added somebody via the transfer portal to fill out that room and offer a little more depth. As it stands, LJ Martin, Hinckley Rapati, as well as Enoch Nawahine on the injury list for BYU. That left Pokai Haunga, who came in as a reserve in the second half, to be BYU's second leading rusher, 5 carries, 35 yards, a healthy average of 7 yards per carry. He'll take that every time, but I look at it, an average of 5 yards per carry. It's fine. 28 attempts, sure, you'll take that, but it needs to still be more efficient on the offense. Overall, I get that it's an up and down kind of feel when it comes to Jake Retzlaff, because he'll make 2 or 3 throws to make you say, wow. And then he'll have one they're like, what was that? It's an up and down experience. But the hopes, I think, at this point of Jake Retzlaff rounding into being a very consistent high-level passer, we kind of know what he is at this point, don't we? He's 7 games in, and it's just like I said, it's a wild ride. It's to use the Disney analogy, it's Mr. Toad's wild ride. You're never quite sure what you're going to get. But the thing is, he continues to get results. We saw Gerry Bohanon play late in this game, and I thought Gerry looked very polished, but it was in mop-up duty time. How hard is really BYU or Wyoming going at that point? But he looked very, very strong, I felt like, in the limited role that he had late in the game. I'm also very happy that BYU allowed him to run the offense. Wasn't just handing it off. QB run, had a very nice completion to Reiner Swanson when he first got on the field. It was nice to see what Gerry can offer to BYU. I don't think Jake is in any danger of losing his job right now. I know some of you would like to see him replaced for Gerry Bohanon. I get all that, but you cannot bench a guy who is 3-0 on the season, has put up very efficient numbers, and I think, frankly, he probably had his best performance to date of the season against Wyoming. I just don't see a change taking place. I don't see it taking place very soon at all. So I think overall, it was actually a very, very solid game for BYU. Special teams-wise, you can't take anything away from Keelan Marion. For the first time in 10 years, a decade, BYU gets a kick return for a touchdown. Adam Heaney, the last person to do that against Virginia in 2014. The fact that this one was 100-plus yards, it's like 102, 103 yards for Keelan Marion. They haven't had a 100-yard kick return or 100-yard-plus kick return for BYU since way back in 1996 by James Dye. So it's kind of a rarity to see the special teams get a kick return for a touchdown, but awesome to see it. Congratulations to Keelan Marion. The punting situation. Sam Vanderhaar has to be the guy. BYU was doing just fine with Sam, decided to insert Landon Rico in for one punt, and he punts it 13 yards off the side of his foot. The roulette thing right now with special teams, don't do it. Just settle on Sam Vanderhaar and go with it. It feels like that it was decided tonight, and I hope it does. So overall, my grades for BYU in this game, offensively, I'd give them an A-. I thought it was a very solid performance. Was it spectacular? Was it absolutely bombastic? Was it what BYU fans maybe dreamed of for BYU going up against a very struggly Wyoming team? No, but I thought it was absolutely a good role, a good job for BYU's defense. So I'll give them an A- there. Defensively, I'm going to say I want to say A-. I'm going to give them B+. I felt like they could have been even a little more dominant than they were. But like I said, fairly vanilla game plan, it felt like, for BYU, because I think they just simply thought, we are better than these guys. Let's just go toe-to-toe. We're not going to reveal a lot of new stuff for Kansas State to have on tape for us, and let's just go beat these guys. And they did that. So it's a workman-like B+ for BYU on defense. And then special teams, well, when you get a kick return for a touchdown, makes up, I think, for a lot. And I will give a solid A- to the special teams. So I know that it kind of outweighs a shanked punt and also maybe some poor decisions on kick returns earlier in the game for Keelan Marion, but that's where I'm at. I thought it was a very, very good performance. Overall, I'd probably give it an A-, right in the verge of a B+ overall for the performance, but it was a dominant win. This game was over easily in the middle of the third quarter at the very latest. By the end of the third quarter, it was a laugher. It was just, okay, how quickly can we get through this game? But the officials decided that in the fourth quarter, I still got money to make. We're going to throw flags. But nonetheless, BYU gets the win. Want your guys' feedback. Let me know if I'm up in the night with my grades for BYU or other takeaways, and we'll dig more into that. Oh, also, real quick on the performance front, MVPs real quick. I'm going to give my offensive MVP to Jake Retzloff. I thought Jake was very, very good. I thought about giving it to Chase Roberts because Chase showed out. He was really, really good. 6 receptions, 129 yards. You can't take anything away from that kid, but I really felt like Jake Retzloff earned his stripes tonight. And that's even with some of the near interceptions. I thought he was absolutely dynamite overall, considering the circumstances and everything I think that went into it. Defensive MVP, I'm going to go with, I got 3 guys in mind. I really liked what Jack Kelly did, got the lone sack for BYU in the night. He continues to be an absolute star for the BYU defense, but I'm going to give it to Evan Johnson. Evan Johnson got the lone interception on the night for BYU, and his ability to track that ball, bring it in, it really showed his athleticism and his ball skills, because this is a kid who's made the transition, as you heard on this podcast when we talked with him, from playing offense in high school to playing defense at BYU. Really cool to see him do his thing. So I'm going to give it to Evan Johnson as my defensive MVP. So let me know what you think. All right. Now, the questions that remain for BYU are still very prevalent. As we look a week out from Kansas State in the open of Big 12 play, what are the chief things BYU has to fix? Well, we're going to delve into those next as we roll on this postcast edition of Locked On Cougars. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Now, Game Time's here for you guys no matter what you're into, whether you like to go to music, comedy, sporting events, theater, whatever you need tickets for, Game Time's got the option for you guys. They had an incredible app that you can toggle all-in pricing. Too many of us have been looking for tickets thinking, oh, that's a really good deal. All of a sudden, you get to the payment screen. All of a sudden, you see about 15 gazillion charges added on top of the ticket price. You toggle the all-in pricing on Game Time, and you know exactly what you're paying right up front. You'll be able to say, okay, that's what it is. They also have their Game Picks part of the app, which shows you the best deals. They'll comb through all the deals out there. It seems like there's thousands of them at a time, and can give you the best deals for the money. Take advantage of it all. The best part is they have a money-back guarantee, 110% of the money given back to you if you find better seats than what Game Time is offering. Not better seats, better prices for the seats that Game Time is offering. So take advantage of it today. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, create an account. Some terms apply to that, by the way. Download the Game Time app. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That's Locked On College for $20 off. What time is it? Game time. Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. Appreciate all of you for being with us. All right, things for BYU to fix a week out from Kansas State. There are 3 things in my mind that need to be shored up for BYU. Number 1, third down efficiency. BYU, going back to the SMU game, I think is 2. Let's see, they were 2 of 11 in this game, and they've been 0 for in the latter stages of SMU. It's not good enough right now on the third down efficiency front. Now, BYU was 3 of 3 on fourth down. That's great and all, but 2 of 11 on third down against better opposition that BYU will face the rest of the season. I do not see literally anybody the caliber of Wyoming that BYU will face the rest of the way, nor should they, because Wyoming's probably a bottom 10 team in the country right now. But 2 of 11 on third down efficiency. You absolutely got to get that fixed. This is a team for BYU that talks about wanting to get ahead of the chains on first and second down. But it is baffling at times when they get in these third down situations that their inability to convert. They've got to find more consistency there. You've got to be 50%. If you're a 50% team on third down efficiency, you're going to be an even better offense than you already were. And this is a game where you piled up 458 yards. Think about what they would have done had those third downs been more like, let's say, 6 of 11. That would have absolutely, I think, revolutionized what BYU could have done in this game. That's absolutely got to be a focus. You've got to be able to convert on third down. And by the way, I know this is being talked about in the BYU meeting rooms and with the players themselves. The coaches see it. The players understand it. They've got to be more efficient when it comes to moving the sticks. Better teams will make you pay for that inefficiency on third down. Number 2, defensively, BYU has to find a better way to slow down running quarterbacks. It has been an issue 3 games running now for BYU. And oh, by the way, you're maybe facing the best running quarterback in the entire conference next week against Kansas State and Avery Johnson. Avery Johnson has sprinter speed and is unafraid of using that to great effect. Evan Svoboda, Kevin Jennings, also who's the kid for DJ Williams for Southern Illinois. All 3 of them have hurt BYU with their legs. I'm sorry, putting Isaiah Banya as a spy in certain circumstances against Evan Svoboda was stupid. That is not helping him out at all. And this is a kid, remember, he told BYU TV that he is coming off 2 meniscus surgeries, as I understand it. He had 2 torn meniscus last year in both of his knees. It's incredible that he played through that. But putting him in a spy situation is just foolhardy. There's an Isaiah that should be in the spy, and that's Isaiah Glasker, not Isaiah Banya. Get it right, BYU. You got to be able to slow down the QB run game. Now, part of that obviously goes to the defensive line and the blitzing linebackers. They got to keep the quarterback in front of them and also not get out of their lane assignments. And that's easier said than done because, oh, by the way, you have some offensive linemen trying to move you out of the way and the like. But they've got to be able to figure out what they're doing with this QB run element. It's going to hurt them. It hasn't hurt them yet. They've gotten away with it because there's 3-0. That's great and all, but it will hurt them if they don't get it fixed in a hurry. And that's the concern I've got, that Avery Johnson could be the first of what could be many quarterbacks in Big 12 play that could carve BYU open with that QB run game. I've got faith that Jay Hill will find an answer for it, but the answer for it to put Isaiah Banya back there at points, that is not it. It is readily apparent. All right, final thing, I think BYU, it's just kind of one of those glaring things for me for BYU going into Kansas State next week, is you got to find more consistency in this run game. I don't know what it's going to take. Maybe it is that Jake Retzloff just has to throw his body out there and just run all over the place, and the QB run has to be a major part of this. You got to find more efficiency in the run game. It's not also been perfect from the offensive line for BYU. Connor Pay, when he joins us again this week, will be very quick to say, hey, that part of that is on us, if not all of it. He's a guy who loves to take accountability for the woes of the offense at times, and I think that he will own that. The bigger thing is you got to get on the same page. Now, I just don't understand running Miles Davis between the tackles. He is not a natural born running back who can read the holes in the middle of the line. Guys like Pokai Haunga, who have been playing running back for years coming into BYU, yes, that's the player that you allow to kind of read and find those creases on the interior of BYU's offensive line. Miles Davis' best role is when he is in space on the edge. Run speed options, run fly sweeps, run HB toss type plays to him and let him work on the edge. Running him between the tackles is a waste of a down at this point. And I don't mean to sound rude to him individually, because it's kind of been the same with Hinkley Rapati at times, because he was a wide receiver in high school as well. These natural born guys that can do this at a high level, they've been trained for years and they have the vision to see the holes and find those creases and exploit them. Pokai Haunga has that. And so long as LJ Martin is unavailable, I think that Pokai Haunga should push forward and be that guy. The other thing is, if you want to fix that a little bit, the zone concepts for some of these running backs seem too advanced. They just don't read it well enough to run the zone. So go to man schemes. I know BYU has power plays and the like in their playbook. That's what I'd be pushing towards for BYU until LJ Martin is capable of going. I don't know the health status of him. I've seen some people speculate that he's got a high ankle sprain. I don't know anything particular on LJ Martin, but so long as he is out, it's going to hurt BYU's offense because he is absolutely far and away the best running back BYU has. But I really liked what I saw from Pokai Haunga. I said only 5 touches in this game for Pokai, but I really think this is a kid who could, given the opportunity, could really do some things. Now, he is a return missionary, still working his way into really full game shape because we all know that return missionaries take time to get themselves fully back. So you don't want to overwork him and injure him potentially with an overexertion type injury. But I'd be very intrigued to see what he could do against the likes of Kansas State because the running attack, I know it was 5 yards per carry on 28 carries for 140 yards. That's pretty efficient. It's actually the best overall average for BYU in a game. But Jake Retzlaff, once again, was your leading rusher by nearly double the next rusher. You've got to find better options or a better option in the run game, or else I think you could be in a world of hurt going into Big 12 play. So those are 3 things I absolutely, they're glaring to me. You got to fix those 3. So number 1, third down efficiency. Number 2, find a way to slow down the QB run game on defense. And then number 3, you got to find better rushing overall, more efficient type rushing for BYU if you want to have the type of success that you envision going into Big 12 play. All right, is your guys' time to shine as we wrap up this postcast edition of Locked On Cougars coming up next. You guys wade in with your thoughts, and we'll get to as many of them in the time remaining right here on Locked On Cougars. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Now, time is running short on an incredible deal that FanDuel is offering to all of our listeners. A lot of you are NFL fans. I am one myself. I'm a big 49ers fan. If you are living out of market and want to watch your team, a lot of you have to rely on an NFL Sunday ticket. That is where our friends over at FanDuel will come in. Now through September 22nd, when you bet $5, you get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday ticket via YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with YouTube TV base plan, a current form of payment, and of course the ability to cancel at any time, you can watch all the Sunday afternoon out-of-market games that are available out there. It's an incredible offer from our friends over at FanDuel in conjunction with YouTube and YouTube TV. So take advantage today. Bet $5, get a 3-week free trial, and catch your team in action today with the NFL Sunday ticket. It's all courtesy of your friends over at FanDuel, and of course, they are America's #1 sportsbook. Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. If you have not done so already, please sign up for our Locked On Cougars Insider Group. A great interaction with you guys. You have one-on-one chats with me via text message, sending you updates of what I'm hearing on BYU sports, whether it's intel on the team or otherwise, recruiting and the like. Join us today. Locked On Cougars Insider. It's in the link in the show notes below. You can sign up today, a 14-day free trial, just $5 a month to join us on that group. All right. Now, your guys' comments about the game from BYU. First one will go to Jimmy. Halfway to bowl eligibility. He says this: Retzlaff was good, but we've seen him play great against mediocre teams before. I'm reserving my final opinion for when he plays against K-State next week. Next week is going to be a dog fight. Well, isn't it a cat fight because we have the Wildcats and the Cougars? But I get what you're saying, Jimmy. I think you embody a lot of what Cougar Nation out there is saying. Jake looks fine. He's doing his job, but I really want to see him do it against top shelf competition. And top shelf is coming to Provo late night Saturday night against Kansas State. So he does have a lot to prove. I agree with you on that. He's still got plenty that he can go out there and do. Let's see. Jaden says this: a lot of people were saying we needed at least a split of SMU and Wyoming. They'd feel okay. Some of these same people are now not satisfied with our wins and a 3-0 start. Hey, in the golden age, as I've heard before, somebody was complaining that the world was far too yellow. There's always going to be naysayers. There's always going to be negative Nancy's out there. BYU's 3-0, but it really does kind of feel like it's the most unsatisfied 3-0 fan base in college football. And I know I have a bit of a slanted view because I'm obviously covering BYU as closely as I am, but yeah, it's just, I don't know. Brandon says this: Jake played well enough to get another week, in my opinion, but I just think even with the one drive that Gerry had, the coaches and fans, for that matter, can feel comfortable putting him in if turnovers continue. In a vacuum, Jake's performance was pretty good. Just doesn't help with his history, and that's why fans are still out on him, haha, but an overall solid performance. Now, the one thing I will say about in the Gerry Bohanon side of things is it was fun to actually see him operating in BYU's offense. I know that they've tried to recreate game-like situations in practice, get a look at it, but really when the lights are on, what does he look like? I thought he looked poised. I thought he looked polished. He looked like he knew what he was doing. And that, I think, should engender some confidence that if Jake Retzlaff does kind of return to the style of play that he's been notorious for, well, you can pivot and go to a guy like Gerry if need be. But you're right. I think that Jake is holding on to that job just fine. Chris says this: Jake is still sloppy. So many balls that could have been picked off. Can't play like that against Kansas State. I agree. He's still got to clean it up. He's still got more to prove when it comes to turnover issues. Better teams will make BYU pay for their inefficiencies and their mistakes in this game. And Jake had a couple that probably should have been picked off, or coulda, woulda, shoulda type moments. Those may go the actual bad way if it's a team like Kansas State versus a team like Wyoming. There is still plenty to clean up on that. Let's see. Number one, Gerry looks much calmer than Jake. This comes from Matt. Haunga needs to start if LJ is hurt. That's what I'm saying, Matt. I thought Pokai Haunga looked great. And then number three, this is going to be controversial. A-Rod called a nearly perfect game. Folks, Matt Moon. Matt, you ready to take the heat? I actually thought Aaron Roderick did a very, very good job with his play calling. I think he gets a bad rap at times because of certain plays, but overall, I thought it was actually a very efficient thing out there. Kent says, I hope that the Big 12 officials won't call holdings that aren't every one of these holdings that were great blocks except maybe one. Now it's holding, not holdings, but I get what you're saying, Kent. It was a Mountain West Conference officiating crew, and yes, there were some penalties that were not good. Mark said this: way too many penalties. I agree. I think we also had Robert say, were there more penalties in this game than the first two combined? I'd have to look at that real quick, but I do think that you may be right about that. It was actually a pretty bad showing on the penalty front. I'm sure Kalani Sitake will be harping on his guy about that. Ooh, this is an interesting take from our good friend Adrian. 5-7 is our best shot this year with Jake being so inconsistent. I'm hoping it changes. The defense will win us a game or two. We have great young talent on to the next one. So you think 5-7 is the ceiling with Jake Retzlaff at quarterback? That's interesting because that means BYU from this point, if Adrian's prediction is right here, BYU from this point is going 2-7 the rest of the way. I think you'd probably put Baylor on that list in terms of BYU winning, I would guess. And Houston, those are probably the two that you're picking. Interesting. I can't say that you're wrong because, like I said, it's very kind of an up and down thing with Jake. And it's not very much fun, I admit, because you want to see more consistency, but it is what it is at this point. Let's see. Jason, turnovers are still an issue. Only one interception tonight, but two others very close in the first half. Better defense may get those and make BYU pay. Yeah, absolutely. That absolutely could be the case. I really do think could be a major issue for BYU. Dennis, with our two best running backs out, I worry about our running game going into conference play. Your thoughts? Yeah, I'm concerned. You don't lose your top two running backs and not have no concern. BYU doesn't have the depth that, let's say, the top tier programs like a Georgia or Alabama have, where they've got 4- and 5-star freshmen just kind of biding their time on that roster. That's not that case at BYU. Remember, without Enoch Nawahine tonight, the second running back off of the bench was Sione Aimoa. Sione Aimoa is a walk-on running back for BYU. That's the thing about this is they're scraping towards the bottom of that depth chart at running back. I'm not trying to denigrate guys like Sione Aimoa because I actually thought he was very, very solid for his role. But the problem is talent wins, and you got a lot of talent on the sideline right now at running back, and that's going to absolutely, I think, be a concern. No, I just said, somebody said the A-Rod Matt said A-Rod called a nearly perfect game. Here's the counterpoint. Josh, I'm still not convinced that A-Rod is a power 4 level coordinator. Okay. Well, that like I said, these takes, they bounce, and I appreciate all the feedback. Trust me, I do. So Jake did better with turnovers this game, but still had one interception. Is Bohanon gunning for QB1? No. I'll just say that. I just don't see Gerry being in the mix for QB1 right now. I think that he is firmly in the backup spot for BYU right now. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I do think that it is Jake's job, and it's going to be Jake's job for the foreseeable future, unless he really screws something up. Let's see. One other one here. Good win from Alex. Concerned about the lack of a running game against a bad team. Got to clean things up to be competitive in Big 12 play. You got to play clean football. There's no doubt about that. And trust me, we're going to get to Monday's press conference with Kalani. He's going to talk about, hey, we need to be cleaner in our execution. He's going to absolutely say something to that effect. I would bank on that. I've actually got to pull something up here if I can pull it up on my phone in the time remaining here about BYU's performance, but maybe I won't find it in time. But the bigger thing is I look at this for BYU as a good win. It was a good, solid win. Was it spectacular? No, but you did the job and got your work done. Let's see here. Maybe not. I don't know if I can find it. I thought I had it pulled up, but maybe I don't. That's the thing about Twitter. Every time you feel like you close out of that app on your phone, things change and it disappears. I will give the final word then to this one. This one's an interesting one from Daniel. Haunga looks like he's going to work his way up the depth chart very quickly. Similar to LJ Martin, he has the vision, burst, and ability at running back. I'm telling you, born and bred running backs, they're a different breed. I know that's kind of an oxymoron, but they are. They are a unique type of player. Making guys into running backs is far harder than finding just natural talents at the position. And I think that Pokai Haunga, he is a natural. And some of you have said that he needs to start. Yeah, I think he's going to work his way at the depth chart very, very quickly. And I just don't want to get to those overexertion type injuries. That's the only concern that needs to be cleaned up. Let's see. Oh, these are some good. Okay. Let's see. This game left me with nothing. Some good, some bad. I'm scared for Big 12 play. Please let Reiner get more touches. That comes from Nick. Reiner's been dealing with an ankle injury, but yeah, I'd like to see him get more touches. Accuracy on offense is still an issue. We need a legit running game that's not QB centric from Danny Drew. I agree. You got to find more options in the running game. And then final thing, Scott, Connor Pay had 2 big mistakes and Jake is lucky. Okay. Connor will own that, I'm sure. And I think I'm going to give the official last word. I don't know. I'm just kind of scrolling through, just kind of looking at the different ones here. Last one, we'll give it to Ed Norton. Defense is stellar. Retzloff was very good, but he causes headaches with his running. I agree. He did. He opened up things with his legs, but his throwing was very, very good as well. And the other thing about it, I talked about it in kind of lead up to this game. I wanted to see BYU open up the running lanes with the throw game. They came out, I think they passed 6 of the first 7 plays, maybe at least 5 of the first 6, if I recall correctly. They knew what they were doing. They were trying to open up those running lanes by backing the Wyoming defense off with the air attack to allow the running game to get going. And it got going in moments, but it does need to be better. All right, that's enough. I have gone way over what I had planned on doing. So nonetheless, a big thank you as always for being with us here on Postcast. Coming up, it'll be tomorrow officially when you all see this. We will do our film review Monday. I'll sit down and rewatch this game, get you some additional thoughts, players that stood out to me, what I learned after rewatching the game, and we'll break it all down as we always do. So big thank you as always for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. Thank you to all of you once again who are everydayers. And until tomorrow, have a great rest of your day. This has been the Locked On Cougars Postcast.